Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Here on this channel I share videos about fashion. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to draft this milkmaid dress just as seen in the picture. For this tutorial you're going to be needing your pattern paper, your straight and curved ruler, your tape rule and your marker. Now if this seems like what you're interested in, you might want to hit the subscribe button and let's start. So guys, here on my work table, I've drawn my shoulder line, which is the starting line, then the bust line, the waistline, and then the under bust line. So I went ahead to draw on the shoulder line. From there, I measured 10 inches to my bust line. And then from that shoulder line, I went back to measure 13 inches to my under bust line, and then 17 inches to my waistline. So next thing I did was to go ahead and measure the half of my shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches, just as a semi marking. And from there, I'm going to be taking the neckline measurement of 3 inches width, just like this. And I'll also go ahead and take 3 inches depth as well. After which I went ahead to draw it out with my ruler. I drew out a curved ruler for the neckline. This is just a temporary neckline. I'm not going to be making use of it. Next, I went ahead to mark 1 inch downwards from this part for the shoulder slope, and then I connected it to the tip of the neckline, just as you see me doing. From there, I'm going to be taking my half of my armhole measurement, which is 16 inches divided by 2. You can as well measure bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. Whatever you have is what is going to be your armhole depth, after which you are going to connect it with your ruler, just like you see me doing. So just go ahead and extend the lines like this and label it as your chest line. So for my chest line, I used dotted line just to indicate that, and then I also labeled it. Next, I'm going to be taking the half of my armhole, just like this. Go ahead and measure what you have there and divide it into 2 equal halves. Then go ahead and mark the midpoint. From there, you'll be marking half of an inch or 0.75 in order to get the curve for your armhole. So after which you are done creating it, go ahead and measure your bust circumference divided by 4 on your chest line. So just mark what you have there. That is going to be a guide for you to draw out your armhole curve. So just place your curve ruler this way and connect the 3 dots starting from the shoulder, just like you see me doing. Next, you'll be placing your nipple to nipple measurement. For me, it's 7 inches divided by 2, which equals 3.5. So I went ahead to mark the nipple to nipple measurement on my bust line, on the under bust, and then at the waistline. And then I went ahead to connect it with my straight ruler, just like you see me doing. After which I'm going to be getting my dart from there. So for my dart intake at the waistline, I measured ½ inch like this towards the center front, and then ½ inch to outwards towards the side front. So what I did was to connect it straight up like this, just to the bust line using the dotted lines. From the under bust line, I went upwards by 1 inch because I'm going to be slanting it to connect it at the under bust line around the dart area. So I just placed my curve ruler this way and then just create a slant just like this. And then what I will do next is to go ahead and connect this part to the armhole, just like this towards this part. So just go ahead and place your tape rule like this. Divide what you have between that part into 2, get the midpoint. That's where you'll be connecting your second curve. So guys, after I was done connecting the line, this is what I obtained. Next, I'll be going upwards at the upper part of the bust to measure the cup. So for the cup, if you want it to be revealing a bit, you just go ahead and mark a little from this part and curve it inwards to the bust line. So I'm just going to take the right measurement. I'll be placing my tape rule this way, and then I'll be marking what I need for that part. I'll be measuring 8 inches. Okay, so just go ahead and measure 8 inches if you are okay with that, or 7 inches if you want to at least cover the bust. But for my client, I'm taking 8 inches. From there, I'm going to be connecting the cup towards the bust point line like this in a curved way. So after using the straight ruler, I decided to opt in for the curved ruler because that's going to give me what I am looking for. So as you can see, the upper part is a bit curved and not straight. Heading to the waistline, I measured the circumference of the waistline divided by 4 plus the dart intake, which is 1 inch. Then I went ahead to connect the line with my straight ruler to meet the bust line. After marking the line, the next thing I did was to add the 1.5 inch stitching allowance at the sides. After I was done drafting, the next thing I did was to cut through the lines I expect you to pay more attention to this part so that you can cut yours correctly. If you want to cut yours, go ahead and cut it gradually to get it right. After cutting through the lines, this is how the cup looks like. So I just went ahead to open it up for you guys to see. And this is how the center looks like as well. So after which I went ahead to separate the cups individually. And then I'm just going to be making use of one piece like this. The part where there's no marker lines to create the slash and spread pattern for the cup. So I'll be using this one instead. Next thing I did was to take the measurement like this for what I have. For the wideness of this cup, I have about 8.5 inches. I'm going to be making use of that. So I'll be marking 1 inch here all through to the end with my marker. If you don't understand, what I mean is 1 inch apart in between each gap. That's going to be where I will be slashing our pattern. After you're done marking the points, just go ahead and draw it into a straight line, just like you see me doing. And then you're going to label it from 1 to the number that it has gotten to. I have 1 to 8 for mine, and after which I went ahead to cut it all through, one after the other. This is what I have after I was done cutting through the lines. The next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and get a new pattern paper that is plain, and then I'm going to be placing it on top of it and arrange it to the way I want it to be according to the numbers. Just go ahead and make an arrangement and just make sure that in line with each other before pinning it down to create your slash and spread pattern. As you are pinning, go ahead and measure about 1.5 inch, and if you want it to be very full, go ahead and measure 2 inches so that you can have volume for your gathers. So guys, after I was done arranging the pattern on this pattern paper, I went ahead to trace it out using my marker pen just to get the shape of what I am spreading. So just go ahead and make use of your marker, trace it out gently like this to form a cup. This is going to allow us to make gathers to fit into the cup. And after that, the next thing to do is to cut out the pattern. So guys, this is what it looks like after I was done with the slash and spread pattern. In order to compress this, we're going to be making a gathered stitch for the gathers in order for it to fit into this cup and give us the exact same size. So this is the remaining pattern for the upper part. I'll be using this to draft out the back pattern. So for us to do that, we'll be needing a fresh pattern paper, then we'll be placing our upper part right on top of it, just like you see me doing. And then I'm going to be drawing a straight line around the sides like this, just to be able to draft it correctly. I'll be pinning it down as well. And then what I'll be doing next is just to go ahead and trace out the lines respectively, including the dart and the zipper. So for the zipper, I marked 2 inches from this part, and then I drew out a line straight down. That's going to form my zipper, and then I went downwards at this point by 1 inch. I will just go ahead and connect a slanted line from this part with my ruler. If you want, you can just leave it that way, or better still, you can still make the slant. In order to do this, you'll be placing your curved ruler just like this and then trace out the lines. So after that, I'll go ahead and trace this little part of the armhole like this, and then also trace the sides and the lower part as well. Next, I'm going to be including the darts. Let me just indicate the points for the darts. I'll use that for the dart intake later on, after which I'll be labeling here as the string allowance. Then I will unpin this front piece and then set it aside. This is what it looks like for the back piece. The next thing I'll do right now is just to go ahead and roll the darts way up to the top of the back piece, and then I'm going to be using the dotted lines to create the dart leg. After that, I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So guys, after I was done, I went ahead to label the front and back piece accordingly, and then this is the cup, including the slash and spread pattern as well. So this is the fabric I chose to use for the sewing part of this video. You can see it has two faces. I'm just going to pick one of these parts to use. I think I'll be picking the red part. So this is how it turned out after I was done cutting it out, with my sewing allowance included on all the corners of the pattern. And this is the sneak peek of the dress, which will be coming up on our next tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe and share as we wait for the second part of this video. With that being said, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.